Areas in the panhandle here, and you can see these also are dumping some heavy rains, and it looks like more rains in the forecast. So a very wet day in Florida. Parts of Georgia seeing some much needed rainfall, some showers with this tropical flow across the state of Louisiana. Around New Orleans, it's a slippery night out there this evening. If you're heading out to the French Quarter, the umbrella will be very handy. Stronger thunderstorms through Lake Charles pushing off eastward. In Texas, you're going to end up getting some moisture out of this as well. We also have one isolated thunderstorm cell that's been sitting over Denver today. Severe thunderstorm warning earlier for Denver and Aurora, and you can see how things have finally weakened somewhat, but some heavier rains and even some small hail possible. Thunderstorms moving off toward the northeast. And into the northwest, we've had ourselves the potential for severe weather here. In fact, we've had reports of hail and some gusty winds with some of these thunderstorms in southwestern Idaho and also into western sections of Montana. And coming up in a moment, we'll take a look at where all this moisture will be headed for tomorrow.
But in the meantime, we want to give you a quick check on what is happening around the tropics, and there is definitely still some action to speak of here. The latest coordinates now from our fourth tropical depression as we head on into the Gulf of Mexico, centered at 26.6 north, 89.6 west, at about 365 miles east-southeast of Galveston, Texas. Winds are 35 miles per hour, and it's moving west to northwest about 7 miles per hour. At this point, as you can see on the satellite picture, very disorganized, not at all an impressive system at all. We think it will continue its west-northwestward track, and if it strengthens, it should happen at a very slow pace. It's possible it may become a minimal tropical storm as we head on into tomorrow afternoon, and perhaps working its way toward the Texas coast as we go toward the latter portion of the weekend and on into early next week. But not a big deal there. Just north of Puerto Rico, another little wave here. This is not a depression. Again, fairly disorganized, but it's possible that in the next couple of days it may work its way up to depression status. Another recon plane will be working on in here as we head into tomorrow morning.
With all the extreme heat the country is going through, it's fitting that our look back in history focuses on high temperatures, and we have two occurrences to bring to you. In 1898, the temperature at Prineville, Oregon soared to 119 to establish a state record which was tied on the 10th of August in Pendleton, and in 1930, Mississippi's all-time record high temperature was 115, reached at Holly Springs. And we are going to continue to deal with a lot of hot weather as we head through the week. Here's our forecast for Sunday, and notice the high pressure in the southwest and in the midwest, and that's where you're going to find your hottest temperatures, right around this dome of high pressure. But behind the front, things will be a little bit more pleasant with a little bit more of an onshore flow. Pretty good chance we'll see some widely scattered showers along and ahead of that frontal boundary during the day. And otherwise, the concentration of most of our rain is going to be around the Gulf Coast region from Florida to Texas, where we'll continue to watch that tropical depression perhaps strengthening into a tropical storm by tomorrow afternoon. It's a little iffy right now, but that seems what the current indications are. So if you live particularly around the Louisiana and Texas coast, you'll want to pay close attention to this. Now, it's a fairly dry forecast for tomorrow, except right along the front some heavy rains, and down here around the Gulf Coast we can find some fairly sizable rainfall accumulations. Notice the cool air behind the front, but notice how warm it is ahead of that front. Sunday, we're going to see highs, a few areas picking up some 100s, a lot of areas into the 90s. Again, Minneapolis, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, Baltimore, and D.C., New York City. It looks like a real hot Sunday. Now, that front heads eastward, so things cool off here behind it, but it stays hot out in advance of that front, only cooling somewhat in the Ohio Valley and Northeast Tuesday and Wednesday. The deep south still continuing to cook, the west continuing to stay seasonably hot for this time of year right on through to Thursday. Not a lot of rainfall to deal with, but the Gulf Coast region has an opportunity for rain really throughout much of this week. We've got those little easterly waves that keep moving on through. There's our cold front with perhaps some strong thunderstorms, slow to move, but pressing on into the northeast perhaps with some needed rainfall for areas like Boston and New York. Another front here in the Midwest might touch off some more rain too, perhaps around Minneapolis and on toward Chicago as we head toward midweek. And right now, one of the nice things about the rain is it means some cooler weather.
And we could definitely use some of that.
Definitely.
We deserve that. Everybody in the country can say that. When we come back, we're going to have the full details on your local forecast for your hometown, so stick around.